The noose swung slowly in the dry morning wind, a harsh reminder of what awaited Emma Brooks at sunrise. The rope was thick, coiled loosely around a rugged beam, poised like a snake ready to strike. Her hands trembled slightly, bound in coarse rope behind her back, her skin raw and burning where the fibers bit into her wrists. She stood defiantly at the center of Black Creek's small, dusty town square, her bare feet pressed painfully against the splintered wood of the makeshift gallows. The townsfolk encircled her like vultures, their eyes gleaming with accusation, hate, and a twisted sort of anticipation. Emma's breath quickened, her heart hammering hard in her chest, but she held her chin high, refusing to show them the fear they expected. Sheriff Mason stepped forward, his polished boots echoing with dull menace on the wooden planks. His cold eyes met Emma's, betraying no hint of mercy or doubt. "Emma Brooks," he said loudly, his voice dripping with contempt, "you stand here today accused of witchcraft, of murder, and of consorting with evil spirits, crimes that demand justice." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The accusations were absurd, laughable even, yet no one here was laughing. Fear made monsters of them all, and Emma was their sacrificial lamb. "I did nothing wrong," Emma's voice carried clearly, stronger than she'd imagined possible given the choking fear squeezing her throat. "I healed your sick, delivered your children into this world safely. You all know me. I helped you." "She poisoned my boy," cried Margaret Simmons, stepping forward, her face contorted with grief and rage. "My Samuel was healthy, and she killed him." Emma met Margaret's accusing eyes, feeling a deep pang of sorrow for her loss, yet knowing her innocence. "He was sick. I tried to help." "Lies!" Margaret screamed, spitting at Emma's feet. The crowd surged forward, their anger feeding off each other's fear and ignorance. Emma remembered Samuel clearly, a pale boy with bright eyes who'd wandered too far into the woods, eaten berries she had warned the children against. She'd found him feverish, barely breathing. She'd tried everything she knew, but it had been too late. Grief had made Margaret blind, and fear made the others deaf. Sheriff Mason raised his hand, silencing the crowd. "This is the judgment of the people. Emma Brooks, you shall be hanged by the neck until dead." Emma closed her eyes briefly, taking a breath that felt like sandpaper in her lungs. Around her, she saw familiar faces. The baker who'd smiled at her just days ago. Old Widow Carter, whom she'd helped when no one else would. Even Thomas, the young farmhand she'd saved from infection last winter. Now their eyes held only cold judgment. She searched desperately for understanding, for some glimpse of doubt or mercy, but found none. Her life was forfeit, a price to ease their fears. "Any last words?" the sheriff asked, impatience clear in his voice. Emma steadied herself, refusing to let tears blur her vision. "You'll regret this, not because of any curse, but because you'll have to live knowing you killed an innocent woman." Sheriff Mason gave a dismissive nod, turning away as if her words meant nothing. He gestured sharply to his deputy, who moved to place the coarse rope around her slender neck. It scratched her skin, heavy and suffocating, a rough embrace promising death. She closed her eyes again, hearing the sobs of a woman she once called a friend. Clara, hiding behind the blacksmith's broad shoulders, face pale with guilt and fear. "Clara," Emma called softly, "please, you know I'm not." But Clara flinched, unable to meet Emma's pleading gaze. A sudden shriek pierced the tense silence, breaking Emma's concentration. Heads turned sharply toward the edge of town. Emma lifted her chin, squinting into the rising sun, heart racing as panic spread like fire through the crowd. "Raiders!" someone shouted. "Cherokee Raiders!" The townsfolk erupted into chaos. Men scrambled for rifles, women clutched children close, fleeing to their homes or ducking behind wagons. A cloud of dust rose ominously from the distant hills, hooves pounding like war drums, growing louder by the second. Emma struggled against the ropes binding her wrists, desperate not to be helplessly caught between two horrors. Sheriff Mason turned, gun drawn, eyes wide with panic as he barked orders, trying to rally the townsmen into some semblance of defense. "Cut her down and get her indoors," Mason shouted to the deputy, suddenly deciding to preserve her, for now. But before the deputy could move, arrows whistled through the air, embedding themselves in wood and earth with terrifying precision. Cherokee warriors burst through the town gates, painted faces fierce beneath feathered headdresses, moving like specters born of smoke and fury. Their battle cries pierced the air, sharp and clear, sending waves of panic through the settlers. Emma saw the deputy fall, struck by an arrow, his pistol slipping from limp fingers. She screamed, pulling at her bonds, rope biting deeper into her skin. Smoke from rifles clouded the air, the smell of gunpowder choking her senses. Then amid the chaos, one warrior stood out clearly. He was tall, strong, and his face marked with streaks of black and red. He moved with lethal grace, dispatching threats swiftly. His eyes found Emma's, locking onto hers with a look not of cruelty, but of recognition. Her breath caught. She didn't know this man, yet in that brief glance, something unspoken passed between them. An understanding, a flicker of shared humanity. He moved swiftly toward her, knife flashing as he cut the ropes binding her wrists and neck. Emma fell forward, coughing and gasping. Strong hands caught her, pulling her onto a waiting horse. "Hold on," the warrior commanded roughly, his voice deep and authoritative. Around them, gunfire cracked and echoed, but Emma was already leaving it behind, clinging desperately to the stranger as the town faded into chaos and smoke. As they galloped toward the distant hills, she turned one last time. Black Creek was burning, the town that had betrayed her, swallowed by the violence of its own hatred. She didn't feel sorrow, only emptiness, and a growing determination to survive, no matter what awaited her in the Cherokee camp. She had faced fire, hatred, and death, yet she still lived. Something fierce stirred deep within her, a spark refusing to be extinguished. She wasn't the frightened woman they'd tried to break. She wasn't a witch, a murderer, or a victim. She was Emma Brooks, and this was just the beginning. The sunlight was sharp and blinding as Emma stirred awake. Her body felt heavy, bruised by the rough ride, every muscle aching as though she'd been trampled beneath the hooves that had carried her here. Sitting up slowly, she realized she lay upon a soft bed of animal furs beneath a shelter made from hides stretched over wooden poles. The air smelled faintly of smoke, herbs, and the wild grasses that surrounded her. She wasn't bound. There were no ropes, no chains, nothing that spoke of captivity. Her breath caught in surprise. She'd expected something darker, crueler, but instead found herself strangely unharmed. Her wrists were tender, red lines still vivid from where the ropes had cut into her skin, but she could move freely. As she adjusted her vision, the scene unfolded before her. She was within a Cherokee village, nestled in a lush valley protected by high hills. Around her, women worked quietly, grinding corn, stitching hides, preparing food. Children played in clusters, their laughter ringing out clearly. Men returned from hunting parties, their movements swift and deliberate. The village hummed with purpose and quiet dignity. Emma pushed herself onto her feet, wincing at the soreness. She was barefoot, still wearing her torn, dirtied nightdress, remnants of a life now lost to flames and betrayal. "You are awake," said a calm voice behind her. Emma turned sharply. Standing near the entrance was a woman, perhaps only a few years older than herself, dressed in woven cloth adorned with beads and feathers. Her face was gentle yet strong, eyes warm but assessing. "I am Aida," the woman continued softly, stepping closer. "Do not fear. You are safe here." Emma hesitated. Her throat felt raw, the words thick on her tongue. Why did you bring me here?" Aida regarded her quietly. "Gray Eagle brought you. He said the settlers wanted you dead. We do not kill women who cannot defend themselves." Emma remembered the warrior clearly, the fierce eyes that had found her amid the chaos. "Gray Eagle," she echoed, testing the name. "Is he your chief?" Aida smiled slightly, shaking her head. "He is not chief, but he is respected among our people. He leads our warriors in times of trouble." Emma's mind flashed back to Black Creek, the smoke, the screams, the hatred burning in familiar faces. Her chest tightened painfully. "Did they all—" "No," Aida interrupted softly, sensing Emma's thought. "We did not destroy your village. We only scattered them, made them remember our strength." Emma felt a wave of relief tempered by bitterness. The town had condemned her, tried to hang her, yet part of her couldn't fully wish them dead. The pain of betrayal was sharp, but not enough to erase the compassion she had long cultivated as a healer. Ida motioned for her to follow, leading her from the shelter into the heart of the village. Curious eyes followed Emma, some wary, others openly intrigued. She knew how she appeared, frail, pale, an outsider brought in under troubling circumstances. A group of warriors approached from the far end of the camp. At their center stood Gray Eagle, the warrior who'd saved her. He moved with undeniable confidence, each step measured, powerful. His dark eyes met hers across the space between them, and Emma felt her pulse quicken, not with fear, but with a profound awareness of the strength he carried. He paused in front of her, his expression unreadable. "You have healed people," he said bluntly, skipping introductions. "You have knowledge of medicine?" Emma nodded slowly. "Yes, herbs, mostly. I learned from my mother." "Then you will use it here," he stated. "We have wounded from our clashes with your people. You will help them." The request held no malice, yet there was weight in it. A test, perhaps a chance at trust. Emma lifted her chin slightly, meeting his gaze. "Take me to them." Gray Eagle studied her briefly before nodding in approval. He gestured toward another tent, larger and set apart. Emma followed, her heart beginning to steady as purpose filled her steps. Inside, wounded men lay upon mats, their injuries fresh, skin punctured by bullets or grazed by knives. Emma knelt beside the nearest, her mind quickly assessing the damage. "I'll need water," she said, looking toward Aida, "and herbs, willow bark, comfrey, and anything you have for infections." Ida moved swiftly, gathering what Emma required. Gray Eagle watched silently as Emma cleaned wounds, applying poultices with practiced ease. Her fingers were gentle yet certain, a healer's touch born of experience and compassion. The warriors regarded her warily at first but gradually relaxed under her ministrations, sensing no threat. Hours passed quickly, and by sunset Emma felt her confidence return, her purpose clear once more. As she finished, she wiped her hands, noticing Gray Eagle still observing her carefully. "You have skill," he finally acknowledged, "yet your people called you witch." Emma straightened, defiance flickering briefly in her eyes. They feared what they didn't understand. Fear makes people do terrible things. He seemed to weigh her words, contemplating deeply. "Yes," he agreed quietly. "My people understand that better than most." As darkness fell, Emma sat near a small fire, a blanket wrapped tightly around her shoulders. Ida offered her a bowl filled with stew, rich, nourishing, and flavored with herbs she did not recognize. Emma accepted it gratefully, hunger finally overcoming her uncertainty. Gray Eagle joined her quietly, seating himself a respectful distance away. They sat in silence for a long moment, each lost in thought. The stars emerged, brilliant points of light against the velvet sky. "You saved my life," Emma finally said softly. "You had no reason to." Gray Eagle studied the flames, shadows dancing across his face. "I saw courage in you. My people respect courage, even in our enemies." "I'm not your enemy," Emma whispered fiercely, more to herself than to him. "No," he replied thoughtfully, his voice softer now, the guarded edge fading slightly. "But you come from people who have taken much from us: land, lives, freedom." Emma glanced downward, shame twisting in her chest. "I'm sorry." He considered her quietly. "You cannot apologize for the acts of others, only your own." Emma met his gaze once more, sincerity shining in her eyes. "Then let my actions show my intentions. I want no part of their cruelty." Gray Eagle nodded slowly. "We will see. My people will watch you carefully. It will take time." She understood the gravity of his words. Trust was not easily given, not after generations of betrayal and bloodshed. Yet the chance alone meant everything. "I accept that," she said quietly. "I have nowhere else to go." He rose gracefully, turning to leave. Before disappearing into the shadows, he glanced back briefly. "Then perhaps, Emma Brooks, you have found your place." As he left, Emma sat alone by the fire, the warmth seeping into her bones. She had survived hatred, betrayal, and near death. Now, here in this Cherokee village, something new stirred within her. Not just survival, but a fragile hope that from the ashes of her former life, something stronger, something true might emerge. Tomorrow would bring challenges, perhaps danger, but tonight, beneath stars that belonged to no one, Emma allowed herself to believe she might finally be home. Emma woke before dawn, the soft whispering of women and distant sounds of preparation signaling the Cherokee village was already awake. She lay still for a moment, feeling the cool air on her skin, listening to the quiet murmur of voices and the crackling of distant fires. She no longer felt the constant ache of her wounds, but the deeper hidden scars remained, those that marked her heart, those the townsfolk had inflicted by betrayal and cruelty. Today felt different. Tension hung over the village, thick as summer fog. Emma could sense it, an instinct honed by living among uncertainty and danger. She dressed quickly in the woven tunic Aida had provided, pulling on soft leather leggings and moccasins that fit comfortably. Her old dress, tattered, blood-stained, lay folded at the foot of her sleeping mat. It felt like the discarded shell of another life. Outside, Aida waited, her face serious, worry shadowing her normally bright eyes. "Settlers have come," she said simply, voice tight with suppressed anxiety. "They demand your return." Emma's heart skipped, fear flickering through her like lightning. "Will you give me to them?" "No," Aida answered firmly. "But there will be violence. Gray Eagle says blood will spill again." Emma felt a pang of guilt. "Because of me." Aida shook her head sharply, gripping Emma's hand tightly. "Not because of you, because they fear what you represent. A woman they cannot burn, strength they cannot destroy." Emma swallowed, accepting the comfort offered. "I don't want anyone else to die." "Nor do we," Aida said softly, eyes gentle but resolute. "But sometimes it is necessary." A distant commotion drew their attention. Emma followed Aida as she hurried toward the village's edge. Warriors were gathering, their faces painted in fierce patterns of red, black, and white. Gray Eagle stood in the center, calm yet commanding, speaking quietly but with undeniable authority. Emma caught his eye, and he nodded slightly, acknowledging her presence. He approached, moving with purpose. "They've brought many rifles, men from other towns. They claim you bewitched their village, turned their own people against them." Emma clenched her jaw. "You know it's a lie. Truth doesn't matter to men with guns," he replied darkly. "But we will protect you. You have become one of us." Those words sank deep, lodging somewhere in her heart. One of us. The settlers had tried to erase her, but instead they'd pushed her into new strength, into bonds forged not by birth, but by loyalty, trust, and shared survival. "Let me speak with them," Emma suggested impulsively. "Maybe I can convince them." "No," Gray Eagle interrupted, voice firm, unyielding. "Words will not change their minds. They seek blood." Emma hesitated. "Then let me fight beside you." His dark eyes studied her closely. "You know what you're asking?" "I do," she replied, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "I won't be a helpless victim again. I have to face them." Gray Eagle nodded slowly, respect flashing briefly in his eyes. "Then prepare yourself." Within the hour, Emma found herself standing beside warriors on the ridge overlooking the approaching settlers. She held a small bow, her fingers trembling slightly, her heart thudding. Around her, Cherokee warriors stood silently, bows drawn, arrows at the ready. Gray Eagle stood beside her, a spear in his hand, his presence a quiet reassurance. Below, settlers marched forward, faces twisted with hate and fear. Emma recognized them, men she'd treated, women she'd called neighbors. Reverend Carter stood prominently among them, voice raised in venomous rhetoric. "We demand the witch," he shouted, words echoing clearly. "Give her to us, and we will spare your village." Gray Eagle stepped forward, voice ringing with quiet, unshakable authority. "You brought violence, not peace. You will receive only blood in return." Emma felt her stomach twist, realizing the inevitability of what came next. Reverend Carter's face darkened, hatred burning fiercely. "Then blood it shall be!" Gunshots shattered the morning's fragile peace. The Cherokee warriors reacted swiftly, arrows released in deadly precision. Chaos erupted below, settlers scattering, regrouping, firing wildly. Emma's heart pounded as adrenaline surged through her veins, drowning out her fear. An arrow whistled past her ear. Gray Eagle shouted a warning, pulling her to the ground as bullets kicked dirt inches away. His strong grip steadied her. "Stay close," he ordered fiercely. She obeyed, following closely as he led her swiftly through the smoke and confusion. All around them, warriors moved in coordinated precision, striking hard and disappearing into the terrain. It wasn't reckless aggression. It was tactical, precise, disciplined. Emma stumbled, catching sight of Aita fighting beside other women, holding a knife and fiercely defending her village. Courage flared in Emma, igniting something deeper than survival, a determination she hadn't known she possessed. Then she saw Reverend Carter, revolver raised, taking aim at Gray Eagle's back. Time slowed. Her breath froze in her chest, mind clear and sharp as never before. Without hesitation, Emma raised her bow, drew the string, and loosed the arrow. It found its mark, piercing Carter's shoulder. He cried out, dropping his weapon and falling back into the dust. Gray Eagle turned, eyes wide in surprise, then understanding. "You saved me," he said, voice low with gratitude and respect. "You saved me first," Emma replied breathlessly. The settlers broke ranks, fleeing toward their wagons, leaving wounded and dead behind. The battle had ended swiftly, decisively, but not without loss. Bodies lay scattered, lives forever changed. As the dust cleared, Emma stood trembling, her hands slick with sweat, heart still hammering wildly. She had taken a life, or nearly so, and felt the weight of it heavily. Yet deeper still was the certainty she'd done what was necessary, what was right. Gray Eagle approached quietly, blood smeared on his arm, face streaked with soot. "You fought bravely." Emma met his gaze. "I had no choice." "You always have a choice," he corrected softly. "You chose courage." She swallowed, the truth settling deep within her. "What happens now?" Gray Eagle gazed at the horizon. "They will not return soon. They have tasted defeat, but they will always fear you. Your survival mocks their hatred." Emma looked around the battlefield, the reality of violence stark and unforgiving. Yet among these people, she found something powerful, something real: community, acceptance, honor. Bonds not broken by fear or superstition. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said softly, realizing the truth even as she spoke it. Gray Eagle nodded, eyes gentle but fierce. "Good. Fear is their weapon. Courage is ours." That evening, around the fire, the tribe mourned their losses. Songs were sung, prayers whispered, stories shared. Emma joined them, her voice blending quietly with theirs. They did not speak to her with suspicion now, only quiet respect, cautious admiration. As night deepened, Emma sat beside Aida, feeling a comforting warmth she'd never known among her own people. "You are changed," Aida whispered, a gentle smile playing at her lips. Emma considered her words carefully. "Yes," she agreed softly. "But maybe I am becoming who I was always meant to be." Across the fire, Gray Eagle watched her quietly, approval and something deeper flickering in his gaze. Emma met his eyes briefly, a quiet understanding passing between them. She was no longer the frightened girl they tried to burn. She was no longer helpless or silent. She was something more, a survivor, a healer, a warrior in her own right. And no matter what darkness came tomorrow, she knew she'd face it with courage forged by fire and blood, stronger than she'd ever imagined possible. The morning sun crested the horizon, washing the Cherokee village in gentle gold. The scent of campfires lingered, mixing with the bitter aftermath of yesterday's violence. Emma sat quietly on a hilltop, knees tucked beneath her chin, watching the sun chase shadows from the valley below. Her mind was restless, heart heavy, yet within her stirred an undeniable strength, a strength she'd never known existed. Footsteps approached softly behind her. Without turning, she recognized Gray Eagle's quiet presence, solid and steady, a comforting anchor in a sea of uncertainty. "They will return," she said softly, eyes never leaving the sunlit landscape. "They'll never stop coming." He settled beside her, his gaze following hers. "Perhaps, but each time, they find our resolve stronger." Emma nodded slowly, feeling the truth in his words. "But so many have died because of me." "No," Gray Eagle said firmly. because they fear what they do not understand. Your survival challenges everything they believe. They fear that power. She looked at him then, his dark eyes calm yet resolute. I never wanted to fight, but now I can't imagine turning back. You've found purpose, he said, eyes gentle. Purpose born in fire. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. What happens next? He regarded her quietly. We rebuild, we heal, we become stronger. And when they come again, we will face them, unafraid. She glanced back toward the village where people moved slowly, tending to the wounded, rebuilding shelters. There was sadness, but also resilience, determination etched into every face. I want to stay, Emma said quietly but firmly. If you'll have me? Gray Eagle looked at her, his face breaking into a rare, genuine smile. You have already proven you belong. Days became weeks and the village slowly healed. Emma worked tirelessly alongside Aida, preparing medicines, stitching wounds, and comforting those who mourned. Her skills grew, her knowledge expanded, and gradually the villagers' caution transformed into genuine respect. One evening, sitting beside the communal fire, Emma listened as elders shared stories, their words weaving history into wisdom. Aita leaned closer, whispering, They speak of you now. Stories of the woman who survived fire and became one of us? Emma's eyes widened. Me? Aida smiled knowingly. They call you Phoenix, the bird who rises from ashes, stronger than before. Emma felt warmth flood her chest, a quiet pride settling inside her. She glanced across the flames, catching Gray Eagle's gaze. He nodded slightly approvingly, his expression unreadable but warm beneath the surface. Then one twilight, as shadows stretched long across the valley, a rider approached from the distant road. Scouts intercepted him cautiously. Emma felt unease tighten her stomach as she hurried forward. The rider was young, one of the townsfolk, covered in dust, exhaustion etched deep into his features. He raised his hands shakily, eyes darting nervously. I'm not here to fight, he stammered. I just need to talk to her. To Emma. Emma stepped forward warily. Speak. He hesitated, swallowing hard. The town's falling apart. Reverend Carter died from his wounds. Those who followed him are leaving. Some fled, others just wait, afraid you'll seek revenge. Emma studied him carefully, recognizing genuine fear and something more, something akin to remorse. Why come to me? Because you're the only one who can end this, he replied desperately. They think you become some kind of demon. But I saw you fight. You're just a woman who survived. Please, show them you're not their enemy. Emma considered his words carefully, her heart heavy with memories of betrayal, cruelty, and pain. Yet deep inside, the quiet strength she discovered grew steadier. She looked to Gray Eagle, silent at her side, seeking guidance. He merely inclined his head gently, eyes conveying silent trust. Finally, she spoke. I will come, but not alone. The rider nodded gratefully, mounting quickly and turning back toward the town. Emma stood still, uncertainty churning within. You have courage, Gray Eagle murmured approvingly. But be cautious. Fearful men can still bite. The next morning, Emma rode into town flanked by Gray Eagle, Aita, and several warriors. The streets were deserted, shutters closed, silence oppressive. She stopped before the church, heart thudding as memories threatened to overwhelm her. Slowly, cautiously, people emerged, faces she recognized, faces twisted by shame, fear, curiosity. Emma dismounted, stepping forward unafraid, shoulders back, voice steady. You called me witch, murderer, demon, she began clearly, meeting their fearful gazes head-on. Yet I am none of those. You tried to destroy me, but I stand here alive, because of those you call savages. Silence greeted her, tense and thick. No one dared speak. She continued calmly. Your fear brought bloodshed. I offer you a choice now. Live without fear, or let it consume you again. Leave my people in peace, and you will find peace yourselves. A murmur rippled uncertainly. One elderly woman stepped forward, eyes teary. We were wrong, she whispered, trembling. God forgive us. We were wrong. Emma regarded her without hatred. I can't grant forgiveness. That's something you'll need to find yourselves. But your fear has cost enough lives. Slowly, others nodded, murmurs rising in reluctant agreement. The tension eased slightly, the oppressive weight of hatred lifting ever so slightly. Emma turned toward Gray Eagle, who observed silently, pride evident in his quiet stance. "It's done," she murmured softly. "Is it?" he questioned quietly. "Hatred dies slowly." She smiled faintly. "But today we've started." Months later, the village thrived once more, stronger and united. Emma stood again on the hilltop, watching children play freely, laughter ringing in clear, joyous tones. She felt a deep sense of peace, hard-won, fragile, yet undeniably real. Gray Eagle approached, standing quietly beside her. "Your presence changed us." Emma shook her head gently. "Number you changed me." He smiled softly, eyes warm. "Perhaps we changed each other." She drew a steadying breath. "What comes next?" He looked thoughtfully at the horizon. "We live, Emma. We remember, rebuild, and grow stronger." She nodded slowly. "I never imagined I'd find peace again." "Peace finds those who fight for it," he said wisely. Emma turned, meeting his gaze fully. "Thank you for seeing strength in me when I couldn't." He inclined his head respectfully. Strength was always there. It simply needed the right fire. Below, Aida waved warmly. Emma waved back, warmth blossoming fully inside her heart. Once she'd been a girl marked for death, alone, afraid, and lost. Now she was someone entirely new. The fire had burned away everything false, leaving only strength, courage, and the bonds she'd forged. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't prey. She was a phoenix, risen from ashes, ready to face whatever came next, unafraid and undefeated. And as the sun sank slowly, painting the sky with fiery colors, Emma felt the truth deep within her bones. She was finally irrevocably free.